There is an exact definition of leadership, and it is not my opinion. You know, I love all the books that come out and all the articles. What makes a great leader? What are the 5 things you need to be a leader? You need charisma, you need vision, you know, all of these things. I can tell you right now, those things are sometimes useful, but they're not essential. Not everyone has vision. Does that mean they're not allowed to be leaders? You know, some people have remarkable charisma and some people don't. Does that mean they will never lead? Of course, it's all nonsense. You can't manufacture these things. Some people are good strategic thinkers and some people are not. Some people are just naturally good at basketball and some people are not. There are skills, you can get better at them for sure, but you're either a visionary or you're not. These are not things that we can manufacture. In other words, they're not essential components for leadership. There's only one characteristic that I'm comfortable saying that all leaders must have to become leaders, and that's courage. Because leadership is hard, and it often requires sacrifice, and that it will happen, that you will have to put your interests, your comforts, your advantages aside so that others may gain. And that's sometimes really hard. In fact, standing up for others may mean that you might get your head chopped off. You know, a leader sometimes loses their job because they did the right thing, right? That comes with significant risk. The choice to be a leader comes at significant risk. And this is why not everyone chooses to be a leader. Leadership has nothing to do with rank. It has nothing to do with the title you have on your card. Leadership is a choice. That's it. I know many, many people who sit in the senior echelons of a corporation and they are not leaders. They are authorities, and they have authority, and we do what they say because they have authority over us. But we would not follow them. I know many people who sit at the bottom of organizations who have no authority, but they are absolutely leaders. And the reason they are leaders is because they have made a choice. They have chosen to look after the person to the left of them, and they have chosen to look after the person to the right of them. It doesn't always mean they have to sacrifice their interests, but when it really counts, sometimes they choose to sacrifice their interests because it's in the interest of the person to the left and to the right of them. This is what leadership is. The role of leaders is not an accident either. It's built into our anthropology. It's part of our survival, the reason we have hierarchy and we have leaders. For those times when we lived in these austere conditions, we had a little bit of a problem. It was a very practical problem. There wasn't necessarily enough food to go around all the time. We didn't have supermarkets and cars. We just go get milk. Sometimes there was food readily available and sometimes not. Which meant if someone brought home some food, and we're living in a population of up to 150, we would all rush in to eat because we're all hungry. And if you were lucky enough to be built like a football player, you could shove your way to the front of the line. If you were the artist of the family, you would get an elbow in the face. This is not a good system for cooperation. It's not a good system for survival because the odds are that if I got punched in the face this afternoon, I'm not going to wake the guy if I see danger. Bad system. And so we evolved into these hierarchical animals. We are constantly assessing and judging each other, who's alpha, who's beta. We are naturally hierarchical, and we always organize ourselves in hierarchies. So even in meetings, we go to a meeting like, everybody's equal, I want you guys to work together. It's not going to happen. We are never equals. We always assess, we always judge, we always allow some others some deference and the role of leadership, and some of us defer and sort of take a more subordinate role. It always happens. Not necessarily a bad thing. And again, the reasons are very practical based on our history. Because what would happen was, when we would assess someone as our alpha, and let me be clear, your capacity to be an alpha in any population is not an absolute. It is relative to the population you're in. So you might be a technologist or an engineer, and you might think you're the hottest, best, most fantastic engineer, and so does everybody else, and you walk around like this, and you go take a dance class, all of a sudden your ego's not so big anymore, right? We've all had the experience, right? We've all had the experience where we shake someone's hand and we're nervous. You're not the alpha, you know? Or when we can sense that someone's nervous meeting us, you're the alpha, right? It's a relative scale. So when we assess that someone in the population is alpha, we voluntarily step back and allow them first choice of meat and first choice of mate. We let them eat first. We may not get the best choice of meat, but we will eat eventually, and we didn't have to get an elbow in the face to get that food. Good system. To this day, we are very comfortable with paying deference and offering advantages to those more senior than us. There's not a single person in this room, zero, that has a problem with somebody more senior than you at the company making more money than you as a salary, having a bigger salary than you. Doesn't bother you at all. You might think they're an idiot, but it doesn't actually bother you that they make more money than you because they outrank you. No issue. It doesn't bother us at all that somebody more senior than us has a bigger office or a better parking space. It is of no issue whatsoever. In fact, we very often find ourselves deferring to our alphas, doing nice things for our alphas. We open doors for them and call them sir and ma'am and get them tea and they didn't even ask. I can promise you that if, as you were walking out of this room, if Steven Spielberg happened to walk in, you would hold the door open for him. And then you would go home and tell your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you'll never believe what happened today. I held the door open for Steven Spielberg. How come you don't advertise when you hold the door open for anybody else? It's because we're proud to sometimes do menial labor for those who we perceive as alphas in our system. We're proud to work for the groups that they lead and the organizations that they lead. By the way, you can't lead a company. You can run a company. You can only lead people. And so this whole idea of deference and how we always defer and sort of volunteer to these alphas is a natural human response, and it's a survival instinct, and it's all about this. And that's the point. None of those perks that you get for being the leader, for being the alpha, none of them come free. They come at a very high expense. You see, the group is not dumb. We expect that the person who's better fed, the person who's actually stronger or smarter than us, the person who has a higher self-confidence, has more self-confidence because of all our love and deference and hello sir and hello ma'am, it actually boosts their self-confidence. We expect that this more confident, stronger, better fed person, when danger threatens the tribe, we expect them to rush towards the danger to protect us. That's the cost of leadership. That's why we gave you first choice of mate, because you might die. And we want to keep your genes in the gene pool. We're not stupid. And this is what it means to be a leader, the willingness to rush towards the danger to protect those in your care. It is a choice. You don't have to be a leader. It is a choice. If you don't like the costs of leadership, you may not accept the perks of leadership because they do not come for free.